Hell yeah. Um, we're starting now. Oh, I'm hearing myself. There you go. Awesome sauce. Cool. So, yesterday. Oh, wait. Light? I don't know. Yesterday, we spent a scary amount of time drawing one face. So, what I would maybe like to do today is practice some faces and sort of ideally sort of settle into a style of face so that I know what I'm generally aiming for. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Phalo Blue. Good morning. Good morning. You a Bob Ross enjoyer? Welcome to the stream. Watched him when you were a kid. Yeah, yeah, I'm a Bob Ross enjoyer. Not really, not really for the art, but it's a very calming thing to watch, right? I forget when I did it. Like for what reason? I don't think it was a sleep thing for me. Some people use it for like a sleep thing. I don't think that was it. He had good. He just had good vibes. Yeah. Are there any living artists I watch? Um, Not like routinely. I look at a lot of people's art, but I don't really. I don't watch a lot of streamers. Um, and the one I do, Northern Lion, he's like a gaming streamer. And that's most of my YouTube consumption as well. Like Squeaks. Is that another? Is that an artist? It's crazy. I'm also so bad at hairstyles. I never know what to. Nah, gamer streamer. I see. I see. Do you watch any living artists? I mean, right now you're watching me, I guess. Let's set a target, man. It's like find a hairstyle. And it could be like a hairstyle you know. Not religiously. You like bouncing around to different artists. That's cool, that's cool. Get a little bit of everything. Okay, so just to have like a way to dress these characters. Also, I mean, this is a pretty unisex hairstyle. Though obviously it's a bad sign for me. I won't be able to milk this new viewer till infinity. Woe is me. Woe is me. So what have you got going on? Swoop to the side. Got about 10 minutes anyway. Yeah, fair. Well, you just caught the very beginning of the stream, right? So it's just gonna be you're gonna catch 10 minutes of warm ups then. Some people say that's the best part of the stream, especially the people that don't have time to catch more of it. They tend to say that. Okay. Okay, you can watch the VOD. Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's ways around it. Um, I'm gonna be doing a comic soon. I'm gonna be drawing a comic, and I would like to find a style to draw that comic in. Um, and I don't really have like a house style yet. I feel like I bounce a lot on a lot of different parameters. Um, One thing I think I've settled on is I want like a more mature look for the eyes. I don't want to do like anime eyes for this one. On stream, yeah, we'll probably draw a lot of it on stream. And well, I say I'm about to draw a comic. That's maybe a little bit maybe a bit of hubris involved in that. I still have a lot of design work I need to get through. A friend of mine's working on the story. I actually don't know how much he knows at the moment. He's got some of the big beats at the very least. Maybe we just draw like something at a little bit of an angle. Could make it more interesting to draw. Yeah, I'm not really like a big writer, but I like drawing a lot. So I thought if I could find someone who would be willing to do a comic with me, that would be like a great way to get some drawing done and not write. Do, do I animate at all? No. Well, not at all, but very rarely. It's a good way to get drawing done. Yeah. I almost went for animation, but I ended up deciding more on like a concept art and illustration. I think somewhere down the line is very likely that I try to get into animation some more. It could be pretty technical depending on. Yeah, no, for sure. And I would animate stuff that would be more technical. I think that's the type of shit I'm interested in. Like super drawing focused. Okay, now we gotta be a little bit careful because I decided I wanted slightly more realistic eyes. I draw on paper, just only really when I'm on the go, you know? I vastly dislike drawing on the iPad, so I don't ever do that. Um, so if I'm traveling, it's paper. You've been doing more pen and paper. Has helped a ton with line confidence and speed. That's awesome, man. Yeah. I super envy people who feel like envy is a strong thing. I don't know. Maybe I do a little bit secretly, even though I try to not envy people. I super envy people who feel like they can track their art progress. Like that statement of, oh, I've gotten a lot better at line confidence and speed. I've just never felt like a drawing improvement that, like, specifically. I had a phase where I drew like a lot with pen and paper. Guess it depends what you focus on. Yeah, maybe that's the thing. Maybe I'm not focused enough. Got an ad? No worries. Are you back or are you chatting from the ad? Paradoxically, you wouldn't be able to say if you're still chatting from the ad, huh? That feels decently appealing to me. I went a little bit more specific with the nose. The mouth is whatever and could be whatever. That's not super important here. Um, hmm. You're back. You're back. Sick. Yeah, maybe it's just that my art practice isn't focused enough. I feel like I try to be very focused and intentional, but it's still probably a little bit hand wavy. Well, then let's go back. Let's try and go back and make some of these same decisions, but from the front view. Nah, you're good. Well, if you're saying, but then maybe I should be able to track my progress and feel like I'm making strides in specific areas. Don't the streams help track that? I don't know, man. I don't. I feel okay. So I feel like this is like a pretty. Now we're talking about it. Whatever. I don't necessarily feel like I linearly move forward. I feel like I variably get worse and better at drawing, and ultimately don't really make a lot of progress uh, in the grander scheme of things. Like, what did we? And where did I put that? Here. Let's maybe look at it. So we drew this. When did we draw this? I mean, and there's a huge variance on these still. But this mouth is like a lot better, right, than what I drew yesterday. This face is quite a lot better than what I drew yesterday, though it's a slightly different angle. We'll admit that. Um, the figure isn't as good as what I do now, I think. And then when was this? This was... Yeah, maybe that's tricky. That's only 4 months ago. Is that only 4 months ago? Yeah, okay. And then yesterday, we fucked around with one face angle for like an hour and got nowhere. Am I self-taught? I don't believe that anybody is. Not like in this day and age. Um, Drawing, I think, is mostly me finding my own resources. I did go to an art school, but I studied CG. We had very little drawing lessons. And I knew when I drew this that this mouth is like a contrivance, but at the same time, I didn't fully like know how I would make it not. And it's clearly something like that. Like something like that is the solution, right? So instead of doing, I mean, this curve makes no sense. It would definitely be like a straight line. So it'll be stuff like that where like that's a mistake that I didn't make 4 months ago, but that I made now. Um, and at the same time, that feels quite emblematic of like what my general art drawing experience is like. It kind of reminds you of a bee. What's up, Milkshake Deluxe? How you doing? And I searched for quite a bit yesterday, but just didn't find that, right? Anyway. The mouth. No, she's supposed to be a B character. I didn't find the mouth. I searched for a better mouth for quite a while yesterday. Didn't find it. We were talking about improving at art and how I rarely feel like I've improved. And definitely, it very rarely feels very measurable. Bees have kind of a weird mouth. Yeah, so it's cool. So it's chill. Well-designed cope. Some can plateau after training long enough. I mean, sure, but it's and isn't that a nightmare? But it feels like this has been my experience all along. Of course, I realize that I have gotten better, but what do you think that people just have like a natural roof and then they just run into that and you're done? Bot, throw water on it. Do you think people have a natural roof, but you gotta keep training to stay there? Fuck, man. If this is my natural roof, I would be very dissatisfied. We still talking art? I was still talking art. I mean, sure, but I really do think I try to focus on specific things. But then that's where I went, yeah, well, maybe it's just not intentional specific enough. Blue is talking about gym as an analogy. We're still talking art. Right, so you seem to think art is more limitless, yeah. before you barged in the door talking about bees. You spotted the bee character. You think? What's your basis for that claim? That shaving off seconds off a 400-meter dash and drawing hands from every angle is the same part of the brain. I see that analogy used a lot. I'm just saying, what do we really know, man? Well, so I think maybe that's part of my issue is I think I probably mix up my style too much. And so what I'm aiming for isn't quite specific enough that I can see um, gradual improvements. If my target is moving wildly, then it can be hard to relate my different data points of like my misses. Because what is like a 10 centimeter miss on the target that I'm used to practicing on? How does that relate to like a 2 meter miss on the target that I never practice on, right? You've done both. I've done both. Well, not the 400-meter sprint. Sorry, not the 400-meter dash, but like gym shit, elite level climbing. Actually, I can't. Yeah, I can't speak at all about the dash. This is just skewed, man. All right, see ya. See ya, man. No, thanks. Thanks. Certainly a scary idea about that art plateau. Peace. You missed the B? That's too bad. We're gonna be in face space for a while, I think. Maybe this nose is more for me. You don't think people plateau? It's like those math curves. Well, which ones? Which ones is important? Linear ones? Exponential ones? Or these ones? Oh, that's true. That's true. But there's still, there's a lot of ones we can talk about. Right, but this would then be a plateau. Unless you're saying roof, and like this would be plateau, but this is roof, which then we're back to a scary idea. Right, but at some point it goes up so little that it does not matter. Like this is fucking whatever, man. I think that's a terribly scary idea. I know like the changes start to be smaller, but if that's 10 years and that's 10 years, I don't know. I'm gonna spend these 10 years learning like quantum physics or whatever. Because you've already achieved the best of the best. But then, yeah, whatever, man. Whatever, man. I am mortified by the idea that like just my I'm mortified by two ideas. I'm mortified by the idea that my skill ceiling, what if this is like Jacob's skill ceiling? And this is like most pro artist skill ceiling. That would suck. I'm mortified by that. I'm also terrified that actually this is Jacob's skill ceiling. But I just don't know how to get there. And so because I don't know how to get there, this is like Jacob result. I'm also terrified by that idea. That's scary as shit too. And like the reason we're talking about this is because I have that feeling every time I draw. I have that feeling that, well, this is like the same as 2 years ago, man. But it's definitely not up here. It's down here somewhere. And my only cope, because I literally, it literally doesn't seem like I'm moving that much. My only cope is that maybe I'm just not very good at telling when I improve. And then like B, if I feel like I'm doing my best, if I feel like I'm doing my best, then maybe at least I'm closer to that skill ceiling than I could fear. Or I'll end up closer to it than I'll fear. So I guess that's me sharing a bit of my art insecurities. I feel like most of us have those fears. But you just kind of got to keep going, right? Now, you have a different take. You think people share the skill ceiling. That's an interesting idea, too. Part of it's also like, well, who fucking knows? I don't know. Nobody knows. We don't have like the book with all the answers. Like cognition and learning is like feels like one of the less solved scientific fields, right? And then you have like art masters that you can sort of observe and then go like, what do they do and how did they get there or whatever. But there will always be differences between the individuals at the top of a field. And who says that their similarities are actually what drove them to the top of the field? Maybe they do different things that are good. I mean, that's cute. If you don't feel like you're improving but want to stay in your style, just try to learn new techniques. But I think the issue is you could improve by learning more, like more different things, or you could improve by getting better at, say, the Loomis method, right? And using the Loomis method to draw a face. And I guess what I'm more interested in than learning a bunch of different art skills is getting better at the ones that I already know. My problem is not that I don't feel like I'm not learning any new techniques. And I'm struggling with feeling like I'm deepening my knowledge and skill in specific disciplines. Okay, but let's try that. We start with the classic diamond shape, and then from there we just cut it to be a little bit more specific. So we like insert a tip of the nose and nostrils. And that's probably like a good simple nose. You're so right, but I don't think I'm at. Well, actually, no. I think it's pretty easy to spot the difference between good and supreme. I think it's as easy to spot the difference between good and supreme as it is to spot the difference between horrible and mediocre. But it's different. It's difficult to spot the difference between really good and supreme for sure. Take me and Kim Jong-gi and try to spot the difference, and then take, what did you say, horrible and mediocre. Take the guy who draws their first drawing, and then like, do I have like a drawing that I'm dissatisfied with? Yeah, this is. I don't know, and then like a mediocre drawing. I don't know what a mediocre drawing is like. It's probably like. That's probably like a mediocre drawing, right? And then horrible is like. How difficult is it to spot the difference? It's very easy. And then how difficult is it to spot the difference between me and Kim Jong-gi? It's very easy. Gotta remind myself we're doing small eyes vertically. That's an important part of the stylistic shift here. So, okay, so let's define it. What am I aiming for with these eyes here? Because it's definitely not realistic. I'm not going for realistic. Difference being my work already has value. Some people might prefer mine over theirs. Right, but I'm not trying to talk personal preference. I'm trying to talk craftsmanship. Right. The standard measurement for like an eye width is a fifth of the face. We're not doing that. That's intentional. Let's try to split this face into fifths. It's something like that. And then we're rotating the face a little bit. I guess if you want to be strict about this, we need to do like a specific front view, completely front view. Does craftsmanship depend on style? I guess, but then take like a great comics artist, I guess, instead of Kim Jong-gi. Um, and maybe it's because like I'm talking from the perspective of like a trained eye. Craftsmanship is easier to measure. Yeah, well, I mean, fair point. I would lean towards valuing or at least prioritizing like a slightly wider spectrum than that. Like your drawing skill is not how well you can do One Piece. It's quite clear if you ask somebody how good they are at drawing, the answer is not amazing, provided they can do One Piece really well. Yeah, yeah, exactly. So the latter is the better craftsman, right? I think that's quite inherent in discussing like what's a high skill level in drawing. It's not somebody that can do one drawing. It's somebody that can do a wide variety of things, draw a wide variety of things well. One Piece mentioned. Not quite. How you doing, Post Bliss? I'd say many things within the discipline. So if I ask you about like what's a good art craftsman, and you go, oh, but this guy can do this guy can do a little bit of drawing and a little bit of woodwork and a little bit of clay and a little bit of animation and a little bit of, then maybe that's not a useful measurement. But if we're saying like, oh, what's a good like who's good at figure drawing? then I'd say, yeah, within the realm of figure drawing, the better craftsman is the one that can do any pose decently well. That person is a better craftsman than the dude who can do one pose at like world class level. Pretty good too. In the whole, again, talking about art potential and how it's scary. Sure, craftsmanship is knowing multiple techniques, but it also involves a certain skill level in each of those techniques. And we would have to agree that the guy who knows 1,000 techniques but does them decently is way worse. A way worse craftsman than the guy who knows, what did I say, 1,000? 1,000 techniques and does them well, right? Like this, the second guy is just strictly better. You saw the portfolio review? Yeah, he really praised me in that one. Sure fooled him, huh? No, no, no. Knowing the technique does not mean being good at them. Mastering a technique takes like 1,000 hours. So very rarely when people talk about knowing a technique, do they mean mastering a technique. I mean, depending on the technique, but say the technique is, what would that be, like big, medium, small, or the technique is um, foreground, midground, background. Yeah, Santiago definitely went Type C on that one for sure. You don't think you know a technique if you don't master it to some level? Right. Okay. No, no, no. But you can know a technique to the point you can use it yourself without being the best person in the world at utilizing that technique. You can know a technique without, like, I feel like I would say I know big, medium, small. I would say I know foreground, midground, background. Um, I would say I know rule of thirds, and I know like some ratio techniques in composing art, but I don't know them to the point of mastery. I don't know any of that to the point of mastery. Mastery, but maybe we're like miscommunicating, because mastery to me means being really good at something. Like you haven't mastered a technique unless it is like world class. Have I worked on big IP with guidelines on keeping a coherent art style before? A little bit, a little bit. You get like a huge art Bible with a bunch of notes, and then you just do everything that's in those notes. You keep those proportions. You render in the way that the art Bible is telling you. Hey Vidver, hey Vidver. I'm doing just all right, man. How are you? Okay. So these are some pretty widely recognized proportions, right? Standard proportions. 5 eyeballs horizontally. Um, Forehead to tip of nose to chin is about the same distance, repeated 3 times. And then you have a little bit of space to the top of the head. Nose falls within the inner corners of the eyes. Somewhere in here it has to fit. And mouth falls within neutral pupils. Somewhere in here it has to fit. And then you have some room to move it around in here. But that's like the outer border for the mouths. 3 months to try and learn a specific style? What context is this? I got like an art Bible and went ahead, you know? Sure, man. I'll take a new anatomy book any day of the week. 3 to 6 months to adapt to a style is insane. I've never heard of that before. I think a workday or two to adapt to a character model is more normal. That's what I hear from my animator friends. I feel like 3 to 6 months is quite a luxury. Maybe they were developing the style at the same time. Fellow Loomis head. All right, thanks, man. So if those are some standard proportions, I know I want to deviate. I know I want to deviate. Um, and I think maybe it would be good to define how we deviate. So we have like a specific target. So standard. 5 eyeballs horizontally. Um, Forehead, nose, chin, thirds. Literally copied every single sketch in those books. And I've done that a couple times in similar things. Little bit at, little extra bit at top. And I know that's not very defined, but that's my typical measurement. Nose between eyes. One eye between eyes. Mouth between neutral pupils. And then people do ear between brow and nose, right? And sometimes that's like a really big measurement, and sometimes it's accurate. That just depends on the person you're drawing. But I think I like slightly smaller ears than that. Also, man, I would love like a measurement for eyes vertically. I don't think that I have that. Maybe we can use some of the skull measurements I know. Who knows? Yeah, yeah. How was the weekend? Decent, decent. I went climbing. What else did I do? I tend to put the nose and the eye socket at the same height. Well, they have the same height in the skull, and then they overlap about 50%. Um, so it actually feels like I went quite low with his nose and cheekbone for no reason. Kind of just hung out a bunch in the weekend too. Football matches on weekends. That sounds nice. Also going trekking in Nepal in April. That sounds awesome, man. Air quality better in Nepal? It's pure air. Awesome, man. I don't know. So maybe I have no idea, man. Eye height is like a third of the eye socket. I would really love to have a measurement for that. Also, just depends on how much you open your eyes, obviously. But it's like because that's like one of the main things I get wrong in my own drawings. I think, or that I want to change, probably that I want to standardize. Now in Delhi, you got AQI under 100, right? You were talking 1,000 last time, right? That did sound crazy. Well, let's look at that Loomis book. I have it myself too. He probably has a measurement. Loomis, drawing the head and hands. You have quite extensive proportional charts. Do you have anything for the height of the eye? Not right here, man. Let's see how well I hit that proportion. Typical measurement I see a lot is 3 units tall to 2 units wide. I think it's about right. Yeah. Yeah, we did that. We definitely did that. Okay, cool. And that's without the ears. Finally free from ad purgatory. Oh, and it's been a while since you've chatted. You must have been there for a good bit post Bliss. You were all in a meeting? Wild. Okay. I think those are decent standard proportions. Now let's try to define the deviation. I always like to put the eyes at around the halfway mark vertically. I know that in terms of eyeballs across the face, I like to scale that up to 4 instead of 5. Yeah, that's how I like it. Right, and I think that's, you can see that in the drawings that I already did. I think this should be around 4 eyeballs across. There's 1, 2, 3, and then there's about 1 left. So if we use the same like basic head proportions, we instead make the eyes bigger, and I still keep 1 eye width in the middle. It's just this bigger eye width. Right? And then have about a half on each side. And then the big question is, how big do I make them vertically? I'm trying to work on like a standardized set of proportions for a new style switch. Yeah, yeah. I don't know. For a resting eye width, let's just see if we can keep the ratio like a normal, like a standard ratio for how wide our eyes and how tall our eyes. If it looks like an eye shape but bigger, we're probably good. Gotta switch to vertical eyes. That's a good idea. Maybe you could sell that to like some plastic surgeons. Let's just have the brows align with the eyes. Now, okay, so this is illuminating a problem that my pieces probably have most of the time. It's because I have a bigger gap between the eyes. Do you then scale up the nose to fit that gap? I see that happen in some of these TB Choi drawings. That's interesting. Let's just keep the same rule then, that the nose is never wider than the gap between the eyes. Let's also go with like decently small pupils and irises. Right, doesn't that mainly align with the artist that I enjoy? I will check. You do decently small pupil iris, you do. Yeah, what do you do? Yes, yes, yes. Who am I referencing? I am referencing Art of Maki, Paluxury, Liamun, and Night Sang primarily. Yes, let's do that. Great tutorial, man. Thanks. Ivareska? Ivareska? Who knows? I certainly don't. Apologies for any butchering of name pronunciations that might happen on this stream. And you, yep, okay. So that's a big thing that I typically don't do, but that I now realize that all my favorite artists draw pretty small irises and pupils. It's a more grown up look. Definitely gonna start doing that. TB Choi, I'm referencing TB Choi as well a little bit. So I'm of the opinion that style is the result of, well, some of it is like the mistakes you make, but you want to minimize the amount that the mistakes you make influences your style. And then instead, what you want style to be, and what it is in most cases, when you look at very skilled artists, is it's a combination of a series of decisions that you tend to and like to make. And I think that because I haven't formalized these decisions and I like to switch them up all the time, my style is quite inconsistent. It's a little bit righty, but it's also just very comic, like what I'm going for. Maki, I think, is a good example of the in between. But then, yeah, Night Sang is a decent example of that in between as well. And then, but then Liamo, whom I mentioned, Liamo, I have no idea how to pronounce that name. I always am like, oh, that can't be correct. But that's like a very comic-y aesthetic. I'm trying to find an in between there that I like. And I want to lean more comic than Riot. Right up your alley. Nice. Nice. Okay. And mouth proportions. Something that's interesting is a lot of the art that I actually like. Well, we can keep the same rules for mouth and nose proportions. That it just has to fall within these boundaries. A lot of the drawings that I actually like a lot have mouths and noses that are on the bigger side of that spectrum. Which is a bit unconventional. Most artists like to shrink mouths and noses to sort of line up more with like the beauty triangle. But I think that's very pretty too. What else? We keep ears around that same size, a little bit smaller than nose to eyebrow. I use the same general measurements for male and female. Yeah. One thing that I might do sometimes is if I'm doing a male face, you can easily shrink the eye a bit more, and use proportions closer to. So actually, if we want to completely formalize it, I like the female head, female face to be 4 eyeballs wide. Well, I think a male face in the style that I'm trying to define, so we're figuring out, right? Male head. I would probably say 4 to 5, 4 to 4.5. For my style, we're defining a style here. These are deviations from standard proportions. Standard proportions would be 5. Just 5 for both, right? But this would be my strategy. And then I think I might shrink the chin a little bit horizontally for a female face. Sorry, the jaw. I was actually talking jaw. Okay. And we're going to keep like the hairline measurements the same. Are you looking at me? Probably not, right? What's up? It was close, man. That fresh turkey hairline. I think those are my proportions. Got a CSP license yesterday. Nice, nice. Yeah, I like it a lot. I think it is a nice piece of software. I think that's a set of proportions I can generally stand behind. And then there's like a little bit of variance, obviously. Like sometimes I might want to bring the eyes a little bit closer. I hate that they're not symmetrical. I'm not very good at drawing symmetrically. Feature overload, you can just not use them. You'll be fine. Just like gradually build out the amount of features that you know and use on a regular basis. You'll be so fine. Maybe it's a little much. I don't know. No, I think it's fine. We could do slightly bigger iris and pupils depending. And of course there's like a lot of variance in shape of eyes, amount of lashes. So I'm aiming for a style of drawing that can go from flats to cell shading to paint without problems. So the main thing is we just scale up the eyes, and then all of the other proportional changes come from that. You just have more eye, and then how do you adapt the face to have a little bit more eye? Right. And then from here, it's just how do you draw the features? Which I have at least like a hard nose and a soft nose look. Probably harder to do expressions with wider mouths. I don't think so. Why would that be the case, do you think? I mean, sometimes it can start to look a little bit uncanny depending on who you ask to. Maybe breaking the form. I don't know. Anytime you're drawing mouths, you have to be aware of the form. No, for sure, for sure. Don't worry about it. I guess what you just witnessed is sometimes I don't have all the answers either. I don't know what that does in terms of difficulty. Couldn't tell you. But I've just noticed that a lot of artists that I like tend to draw wider mouths, and I like the amount of expression that you can get with a wide mouth. I like how expressive that feels. Don't worry about it, Post Plus. You're good. You're good. It's all good. Maybe we scale this up a little bit. Is all of this this? All of this is this. Just like that could be the cool. This feels pretty easy too. Just change one proportional measurement and then just every other rule applies. It's quite an easy thing to write down. Also makes it easy to then draw realistic if ever I need. If ever I need to draw realistic proportions, it's easier to scale them back. It's just changing the eyeballs to, or the head to five. No, four eyeballs wide instead of five. Okay. So now we have a target. Now we have like a defined target that we're trying to hit with proportions when drawing faces. And then that should make it easier for me to measure, did I hit my target or not? For now, quick bathroom break. We'll be right back with some more drawing. All right, we're back. I'll just lower the table. All right. Um, you're half finished. That's a little bit boring. Nope, nope, nope. What are we going for? I wanted like a scoff, like a earthquake POV. Yeah, I moved the camera a lot. Okay. So that's what's next is figuring out, well, how do I draw the features? Now we have a proportional system. How do I draw the features and how do I draw them in different expressions and from different angles? Do I also define baseline body proportions? Yeah, but I tend to just use Loomis's idealistic proportions. Um, yeah, yeah, which is like body is 8 heads tall, crotch is at 4 heads. Um, First head is the head. Second head, you get to the nipple. Third head, you get to the belly button. Fourth head, you get to the crotch. Fifth head is mid thigh. Sixth head is bottom of the knee. Seventh head is mid lower leg, and eighth head is bottom of foot. Right. Biz V, keep it up. Don't give up. Thank you. You too. You too. But it is the first time I do something like this where I define general standard proportions for a style I'm aiming for, which I'm just realizing now it's it's high time, man. Maybe I should have done this ages ago. Like facial proportions. Otherwise, what I've been doing is just like I know the realistic proportions and then I deviate case to case from those, but that, no surprise, has turned out to be maybe a little bit too much work and a little bit too undefined. All right, there you go. We have another half hour today, and then stream's actually gonna end for a little while. I have like a doctor's appointment I gotta get to. So we'll probably be back. We're gonna do half an hour now, and then probably do like a 2 hour break before we're back again. I think I like this as a general system. And then, of course, what's important is that you define the width of the mouth for like on a character basis instead of like on a pose basis. And then you work with what you have when you want to pose that character. Cool. Definitely feeling better about today's faces relative to yesterday. Redemption arc. Hopefully. Could be nice. I feel like for it to be a redemption arc, it would have to last at least like another 5 streams. So now I thought maybe we go on like a Pinterest and we find just some expressions, and then we try some different angles and expressions and features with this proportional system. Respect. Thank you, Post Bliss. Yeah, let's try that. There's a variety of angles, a variety of features, but with these proportions. Cool. We just kind of did that one. Yep, solid start. can try a slight upturn to this nose. So now I've found real world reference and I'm trying to apply like the proportional system to this real world reference. That's interesting. Probably move you out a little bit more. Okay. And then we would have to see, normally I do that, but that's just not what I'm seeing in the reference, which is interesting to me. Of course, this looks happier too. Okay. I'm trying to have like a good line economy as well. Not put down too many marks per phase if I can avoid it. Good morning, Vector Zero. How you doing? Now, what would I do to just, if I wanted to take this a little bit further, I'd get rid of that line and that line. I'd get rid of that line. Maybe I would hit some lines there. That's definitely the tricky eye. Is the winking one. DC Comic Jade, working on a redesign. And looking around for artists to eventually hire. That's okay. You're doing a big production. Probably. A million different ways to draw lashes too. I tend to like art styles where they're definitely decently indicated, like put a bit of emphasis on the lashes. Where's that reference I was looking for? I had it just a second ago. There you go. Hello, Haiti202. Hello, how you doing? I don't know. Something about that wink just feels so strange to me. Definitely did see that in the reference, but I don't know that that works better. You're doing great. Stumble upon my channel. Yeah, sorry if there's a little bit of a delay. The YouTube stream tends to be a little bit more delayed. Well, I hope you enjoy the hang. There's unfortunately only about 10 minutes left before we close stream for a couple hours. But I'm hoping you enjoy those remaining 10 minutes then. Let's see if we can get in one more face. You want the eyebrows lower? That's a good question. Let's see how that feels just for fun. I think that's a matter of taste. But then let's talk about my taste. I think it's a good cue regardless for me to put eyebrows a little bit lower than I would naturally. Do I have a measurement for that? Other than third, third, third. Maybe there's something like, and then what would that be? Something to the effect of, oh, like from a neutral pose, there's like only one eye height between the eye and the brow. Maybe that's something I could use. Try that for a while. Because definitely when you get to more than that, it sometimes feels like there's just too much space here. Let's try that. Let's write it down. One eye height. From eye to brow. Of course, this is going to be This is going to change wildly depending on expression and angle. So we'll have to put like neutral pose, neutral angle. Yeah, I think that's a good thing to include. That definitely did just improve those top 3 faces. Can we squeeze in one more face? Maybe, maybe. Slight angle to this one, which always complicates things. And a little bit of like a left-right angle on it too. Which actually, that I feel like that often makes a face easier to draw if you have a little bit of like left-right tilt to it. You're redesigning nearly every DC character for fun. Crazy. Okay. Hit us with those thirds. From here, maybe? Feels about right. I'm streaming to Twitch too. Yeah. So sometimes I talk to ghosts. My bad. You're all wrong. Can I not? What's like a 90-degree angle? Something like that? I don't know who Jason Todd is. I'm sure you can give me the TLDR. Might have heard the name before. Red Hood? Oh man. Yeah, I know of him, but I really don't know his deal or anything. Sorry, man. Fake fan. Fake fan. That's crazy. That's a 90-degree angle. Then this definitely isn't. There you go. That's crazy to me. What? What? Kingry Eye. You found this on your recommendations? Sick! I've made it to the recommendations. That's awesome. It's going quite well. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Just hanging out, chilling. Drawing some faces. Trying to find like a more defined art style for myself. Now we can probably grow the height of the eye a little bit for the inquisitive look here. Raise the brow a bit more because we're doing like a face. We're doing an expression. That's what I meant to say. I feel like we need a little bit more left-right tilt. Yeah, so been working on like proportions, facial proportions for my style. This lady has quite a wide smile. Whoa, what is going on, man? Like wildly skewed. We'll get there. Trust, trust. Hi, man. Monish Music. Hi, hi. How you doing? How are you doing? Let's get rid of some of the measurements and just look at the how the face looks for the face. Killer with the baby face. Hey, Amon. You always have some nonsense to say. It's your duty. Have you seen the leaderboard? I put on a leaderboard today. I think you're my second most active chatter of all time. You've been putting in work too, so. And you're not looking at me at all. That's better. Monish Music, I'm doing good too. I hope you didn't answer immediately because that was that was a bit of delay we had just then. You're sorry about that? Don't be sorry about that. This one feels like a bit of a fumble. How is Deadlock? I haven't played it yet. Have not played it yet. I want to play it with my my roommate at some point. So I just wanted the key, so that wasn't like an obstacle. It's a bit late, but you'll remain for a little while longer. How kind, how kind. Or alternatively, how nice that you're enjoying the stream. You have to put in 250 more messages to be number one? Yeah, well, better get started. But they have to be organic. You can't just spam. Like, don't just put like a million exclamation marks. We could make, maybe the type D chatter is like a leaderboard type chatter. I don't want to add more types to the system though. But there is definitely a type of chatter who just tries to stay like active as much as possible. Just for the numbers. At least I can imagine that guy. You missed some Germany's curling game. Oh no. And thanks for the compliment, Monish Music. Thank you. Appreciate it. Why do you need to get a haircut and groceries? You need curling. All you need is those guys sweeping, man. How athletic is the generic curler? Like, do you think don't you think like most people could pick up curling if they wanted to? Or is it like a very physically taxing, demanding sport, but that you just wouldn't know? They're definitely athletic. Damn. But what do they do, man? I haven't seen any curling. The curling's been mostly your thing, I think. Probably not as much as swimmers. Right, I'd imagine. They scrub crazy style. Fair enough. Face is getting better. We could do this classic like braid style. You don't have new material? You had Killer with the baby face. Or baby with the killer face or whatever. Whatever it was you said at the top of the morning. Chilates. I had another one. Why was the macaroni artist so sad? He had imposter syndrome. And like one more. Why are crack addicts such good draftsmen? They do lines all the time. But that one goes to my roommate. Like he at least he had the first version of that one and then maybe I punched it up a bit. It's coke addicts. It's coke addicts. If you said those, we'd clown you? No. No. I'd go, yeah, man, yeah. Which I don't know if that's a clowning. I'd definitely go, yeah, man, yeah. Everyone would get up slow clapping. I don't think so. I think, if the pun works, I'm there for it. I mean, feel free to find receipts and like counter me or whatever. But I think if it's a good pun, do I prefer traditional or digital art? Oh man, I actually tend to prefer digital, which I think is like a deadly sin, right? You're not supposed to do that. I just kind of do. Nitpicks here, like eye angle here is weird. Could probably lower this eyelid and eyebrow some more. Maybe indicate Furrowing of the brow. Do you like puns? Maybe more in German though? I'm big on puns. And like wordplay and stuff. Generally fuck with the stupid stuff too. I think part of the quality of a pun is it's just how well it reads. If it works, if you were instantly there with the pun maker, that's a huge plus. If you're like, yeah, man, I know what you're saying. German is funnier than English. Doubt. Doubt? Thanks for following, Fimum13N. No. Fimum1 and 3. There you go, Fimum1 and 3. And you are a little low, I think. But generally, this feels like an acceptable face. Digital art is crazy detailed. It doesn't have to be. You can make crazy detailed traditional art too. As a language, it's insanely complex and detailed, so it offers so much comedic potential. I mean, fair enough. I don't know, you might be right. I can't say shit. I definitely like English more as a language than Danish, and that's because it has so many more options and so much more nuance in it. I feel like I can express myself quite clearly and intentionally with English, but in Danish it's a little bit more. Nah. Part of it's probably that I know more English, but I tend to feel like there's just more options for the same or almost the same meaning, right? I was Googling predilection yesterday because I was like, well, I want to say predilection right here, but I feel like maybe I'm using it wrong. Turns out I was using it right because I'm kind of the goat. Um, it means like like a certain preference for something, strong preference and tendency towards something. But then you have predilection, you have tendency, you have preference, you have predisposition. There's so many words to express the exact nuances of what you're trying to say with that specific word in that specific context. I don't know, Chris Foss. Oh, sorry. Do I think what's simple because of experience, or it's just easier? I use Clip Studio Paint. Sorry, there's two chat threads that I'm trying to keep up with. English has its own advantages. Yes, it's more vague. I don't know. I think it's more specific. I think English is more vague. That's funny. But then I don't know German, so I only have those two languages. I have Danish that I know and think is fine, and then I have English that I think is better, and it is because it's like a bigger language. I also think it sounds prettier, but hey. So maybe if I knew German, I'd be like German's biggest fan. Can you do that? I guess you can, but it reads as like makeup, not as like a shape of the mouth, obviously, or shape of the lips. In German, everything is so elaborate. All right, Monish, you said that digital art is so complex, crazy detailed, and then I said it's not necessarily. I think it's a lot about finding ways to simplify. Big part of art is finding ways to simplify. The simpler the individual things that you're going for are, the easier they are to nail. And then you just stack simple tasks on top of each other. You know, I think that's fine. I think that's a face. Um, it's using the new proportional system that we devised today. We can probably go a little bit more lashy on it, just because I like that. But that's like something you put over top. Isn't really the core of the drawing. I think we might be slowly finding something here. Or maybe today's just like a decent drawing day and tomorrow it'll be shit again and everything will be whack and difficult and we'll never learn. But today this feels okay. One thing you always stumble about is that there's no fitting equivalent in German for relatable. So you just say relatable. Stupid language. You don't even have relatable? Bet you don't have Hüge either, man. You're trying to learn digital art slowly? Yeah, I mean, slowly is definitely fine. Just start with what you know. Maybe like start with a brush that sort of resembles your traditional tools. You can find like pencily brushes, and then just like draw in the same way that you're used to, whatever that is. I think over time, then you can add complexity. You can learn more features and stuff. Come on, man. We're crazy. We're crazy for that one. You find it very funny when English slang is just adopted and directly translated. That goes hard. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's really funny, especially yeah when you see like the first couple times you see English patterns in Danish. There is one that I've seen adapted recently that it's just like an English phrase that just is not correct in Danish, but all my friends are saying it all the time now. Um, I'm the same. He's the same. You can't say that in Danish. Jeg er det samme. Jeg er den samme. You can't say that, but a lot of people have started doing it. Jeff Trabs, how can you improve in drawing? Oh, huge question. Draw more intentionally. I'm sorry, I shouldn't even have taken that because I'm actually 22 minutes over time, and I do need to go. But those are, I mean, that's the that's the big one, is draw more and draw more intentionally. I do need to round it off. Um, so much chat today that I just did not have time to interact with all of it. Um, yeah, I need to go. I need to conclude. I hope you guys enjoyed the stream. I might be back in a couple of hours or three. Um, like 2.5 hours. I might be back. Maybe that's too long. I don't know. We might be back later, but for now, I will conclude the stream. Yeah, I have like a doctor's appointment now. So again, there might be more later. But for now, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for joining.